What's up, MMA fans? It's been for, geez, I don't even know. I didn't even bother to go look back the last time I did an MMA video. So, recapping anything in between then and now, it's a moot point. Too much has happened. There's still some old guard left from when I did my last video, and there's definitely a lot of new guard. Definitely in the heavyweight division, definitely in the lightweight division, the light heavyweight division. You know, John Jones kind of started his reign uh, probably before, no, I would say after I did my last video, and he looks as dominant could be, right along with Anderson Silva and pretty much all the long-term champions that the UFC has. GSP, uh, Dos Santos is kind of moving up in that upper echelon in terms of dominance and defending his title, which is kind of what you want to see. You want to see a champion hold on to his title and defend it multiple times. It gets kind of it kind of puts a damper on it every time you see the belt change hands. Every time guys fight, and that's what was kind of happening in the heavyweight division for a long time there. Guy would have the belt one fight and boom, he lost. One fight, he's lost. There's an interim title, and he lost. It's just too much. It's kind of what's going on with the welterweight division now with Condit. You know, you have GSP. You have Nick Diaz is the 10,000 pound gorilla in the room. When does he come back? And when he comes back, he's going to be right up there because just of he has ability to promote a fight, and he's a good fighter, and he's an interesting matchup for GSP and for Condit again. It's an interesting situation. You have Campman, who is like the cat with nine lives. The guy can be on the precipice of getting knocked out and rocked, and he just seems to come back and find a way to win. You have Johnny Hendricks in that class now, and whoever wins the fight between him and Campman pretty much are in line for the next shot. There's so much going on. We're fresh off Silva, Son and two. Uh, Everybody figured, Silva is gonna win, but Sonnen made it very, very interesting the last time they fought. But Sonnen loses these fights the same way he loses every fight he lost. He's in a good position in the fight, and then he makes this colossal mistake, and it ends up costing him the fight. I could think of even dating back to like Jeremy Horn. He fought Jeremy Horn. He was pretty much in control the whole fight, and he just chose to just live in Jeremy's guard, and Jeremy ended up catching him in this weird kind of armbar. The same thing with Paulo Filho in their first fight. He was winning the fight, dominating, just continued to play Russian roulette inside his guard, and he lost. It was the Marquardt fight where he winning the fight pretty dominantly, and he almost gets caught in a guillotine. And he loses these fights in pretty much all the same manner. He's in a position in the fight where he's as dominant can be, and then he just, for what reason I don't know, when he was in the mount, did he not posture up? He had a good 50 seconds. He could have postured up and really started raining down, but he just he wanted to ride Anderson for whatever reason. Even in the first fight, there was positions that he had that he just chose to go back in Anderson's guard. It was odd. And now there's talk of Sonnen, moving up to 205, and with John Jones, and Sonnen has a great ability to promote a fight. MMA needs more guys like him that are willing to step out of the box and stop saying all the right things and just saying, hey, I'm gonna promote myself, and I'm gonna promote this fight, and this is what I've got to do to get people's butts in the seats and people to click buy on the cable switch for the pay-per-view. That's what you got to do, and that's what sells. And and he did that. But in terms of that fight, I really have no interest in seeing them fight. I would much rather see Anderson Silva and John Jones fight, especially if Jones wins against Hendo, which he probably will. But if he wins in dominant fashion, there's no reason that those two shouldn't fight. And I know everybody's going to say, well, Chris Weidman's there, and that's sexy to say right now, coming off a dominant win. But be careful. We've seen this before. A guy looks good, you put him up in there against the best, and he's not quite ready. Boy, does that ship come crashing down very, very hard. We've seen that more oftentimes than not. I think Chris Weidman is good. I like his length. I like he's definitely a good matchup with Anderson because of his wrestling and his ability to submit, and he's got respectable stand-up. I think that he'd be better served fighting another fight or two before fighting Silva against a Bisping, a Belcher, somebody like that. Maybe even a Franklin or a Belfort. And if he wins those fights or that fight, I am all go for throwing him in there with Anderson. But now off Munoz, it's still to me it's just not enough. And what's what I was going to talk about in terms of a guy like Sonnen, where there's really nowhere for him to go in that division. Similar to a situation with Rich Franklin. He was the champion, lost the title, then lost again to Silva. There's really nowhere for you to go in that weight class except up to 205. And I think you've seen the UFC now the last couple of years add weight divisions in the lower ranks, bringing all the WEC talent over, and then just recently added 125, they've 135. It's really time to add a weight class in between 185 and 205. I don't know if this has been talked about before with any of the other MMA guys on here, but it's long overdue. It's too big of a gap. There's a lot of guys, a lot of fighters, I believe, that would fit nicely in that 195-pound class. It's just good enough to where it's not like it's 190 where a guy, let's just say, who's a small 205er has to cut the 5 extra pounds, or the 185er has to jump all the way up to 205. It's 195. I think that's a good weight class. That would be a good weight class for a guy like Sonnen, for example, a guy like Rich Franklin, a guy maybe even Vitor Belfort, guys like that. Hell, maybe even Anderson Silva says, hey, I want a new challenge. I want to go up and try to get a belt in this weight class, or try to own 2 belts in 2 different weight classes. Who knows? It's just, I think it's high time that it just offers a lot for guys who just say are smaller 205ers. A perfect example of Dan Henderson, who doesn't really like cutting all the way down to 185. He'll do it, but some of his more lackluster performances have happened at that weight, as opposed to he feels more nourished and refreshed and able to, doesn't have to sweat off so much weight at 205. I don't really think he cuts much weight at all, if any. But I think 195, even for him, would be a really good weight, especially at this point in his career. But that's pretty much it right now. There's so much going on. There's so many fights coming up. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I think I've had it with Tough. Haven't watched. I can't remember the last season I watched Tough. I really can't. I want to say the last time I watched Tough was when Sarah and Hughes were coaching, and I just thought that was going to be interesting to see those two talk and go back and forth. And you look at the fighters that have won the show and just where they've gone or haven't gone or are just completely gone. It's the format's old, and I much rather see them move fighters up and advance them through the ranks normally, as opposed to doing this show. And it was a great jump start and a great boost for what they needed at the time back in 05, 04. But I think past that now, and it's time to either scrap it or just do something else. I have no desire to watch the show. You look at the guys that have won the show in the past few years or several years that just haven't done anything. I mean, Efren Escudero, where is he? Amir Sadala, where is he? He fights, but no real impact. And then in the UFC, you know, Matt Danzig. You could just keep going with who has or hasn't done anything. There's probably been other guys, but their names escaped me. Even you can go back to season 2 with Joe Stevenson. He's not in the UFC anymore. A few other guys, but I just think it's high time to just scrap it all together. Again, I'm sure it's been talked about already. Until then, definitely interested in doing more MMA videos, see how the reception for this one is, since I haven't done any in so damn long. But until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. And we got, I think, Strikeforce tomorrow. Another UFC coming up pretty soon. The Strikeforce, it's kind of like, sorry for the garbage truck this late. It's kind of like, wait till it passes. I don't know. Like, why bother at this point? I mean, what's the point? I just think if you have any interests in Dan Cormier or any of the other, Tyron Woodley, just wait till they go into the UFC. I mean, you don't want it to end up to like a Gilbert Melendez situation where what do we have to, I mean, I thought he lost the last fight against Josh Thompson, but he's toiling there. There's nothing left for him to do there. I even think Josh Thompson would be a good fit in UFC. There's just guys that are just toiling. There's no reason for them to be there. There's no real place for them to go other than the UFC, so why not? I just don't understand the point of running that company at all when these guys can be marketed so much better in the UFC. I know they have to continue the contract and play it out with Showtime, but I'm sure when that's up, they'll totally scrap the Strikeforce brand altogether. But until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. I just my became disorganized with my thinking and had to get that out. All right, guys, you have a good one and enjoy Strikeforce tomorrow, and I'll talk to you soon.